Welcome to the Beat LA podcast, recording from Paris, France. My name is Matt Ferrucci. I'm a writer-director in Los Angeles, and I am joined by a man who flew to Paris to recover from the Super Bowl, Monsieur Paul Rule. Paul, how are we?
I'm good, Matt. Recovering for the Super Bowl is exactly right, because to our listeners out there, I left it all on the field. I came home from Vegas with COVID, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Interesting bookend, because in 2020, when I went to the Super Bowl, COVID started like a week later. And so every 4 years, it's like the Olympics, man. Every 4 years, I have a front row seat to a plague. But I'm mostly recovered. And like you said, to recover, I came to France for a special cure, mostly pate and white wine.
I love it. So Paris Kendall is feeling better. We're feeling better physically.
Mostly. I do have a scarf on, though, but that's mostly for effect. I could take that off, or I can leave that on, Matt. I've been in movies with you. You usually tell me what to do with my wardrobe. So
Yes, no. I mean, your lovely wife DM'd me a picture about a half an hour ago. If you want to see Paul enjoying a Belvedere cocktail, is that how you say it?
No. It was a gin martini.
Okay, and you want to see Paul enjoying a gin martini in a bar that Pablo Picasso used to pick up women at on the Champs-Élysées, tune into the YouTube of this episode. That's called a segue, Paul. If you want to watch this podcast or listen to it, you can see us on YouTube. You can see Paul live in Paris. You can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple. You can watch clips from the show on TikTok and Instagram. That is the house cleaning. Paul, we've had some good Kendall corners in the past, but this whole pod is one big Kendall corner, if there ever was one.
I'm hoping that this entire opening that Nick has the Succession theme running underneath the entire thing.
He does. But we're gonna take a quick break from the Succession theme, because I just want to ask you, do you know what they call a Big Mac in Paris, Paul?
I haven't been to McDonald's, but the Royale with cheese, I know.
That's the quarter pounder with cheese. Cue the clip. Just cue the clip, Nick.
They call it the Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese.
That's right.
What do they call a Big Mac?
Big Mac's a Big Mac, but they call it Le Big Mac.
So you're in Paris. I love this for you.
I'm in the 8th arrondissement.
You know, I was thinking, as we do on this pod, we do a little pop culture as we do. And I wanted to know if you were like Owen Wilson in Midnight in Paris, a screenwriter that goes to Paris with his wife, fiance in the film and kind of goes back in time. Are you feeling some Owen Wilson vibes?
We just went to, what was the name of the place? Fleur or something? Cafe de Fleur, where Picasso used to hang out. We are going to Montmartre, I don't know how to pronounce it, which is the hilly area that was in Midnight in Paris after the podcast. So I'll let you know if somehow I magically end up in a cab with Hemingway.
Most of our fan base right now is like, fuck you, Paul. Fuck you. I was thinking, just quickly, this is not the best things, but just a little recommendation. I was thinking about Paris films in relation to this pod and you. Do you remember the film Killing Zoe, 1993? Roger Avary wrote it, Eric Stoltz. It was about a bank heist with Julie Delpy. Do you remember this film?
Great segue. If you remember, Roger Avary technically co-wrote Pulp Fiction with Tarantino.
Right.
And co-won the Academy Award with Tarantino. I do remember that movie. That was my peak indie film period that turned me into a version of who I am today, Matt.
Yes, that's very USC Film School, Killing Zoe. If you haven't seen, if you wanted just a bank heist film, check out Killing Zoe. Okay, so after this, Paul, can I say, are you wearing the watch that tells time in Stade?
In Stade, Trading Places?
It tells time simultaneously in Monte Carlo, Beverly Hills, London, Paris, Rome, and Stade.
Matt, we are heading to Zermatt. We are on our way. This is a way station on the way to Zermatt for a little skiing, but also a very good friend, other friends, Aurelian and Simone List. They are having their 10-year wedding anniversary renewal. They basically are redoing their wedding at a little chapel in Zermatt. So that's where we're heading.
Paul, I mean, listen, you're a good friend of mine. I really want your life, not because of the money or the fame or the good looks. I really want it just because of your network of friends. I feel like you could go to Bangkok and have an old Princeton buddy that owns some sort of thing in the hills of Bangkok. And you got people all over the world. Paul, you should have been a spy.
Maybe I am a spy, Matt. Maybe that's exactly what I am. While I had COVID, I actually read The Spy Who Loves Me. the Ian Fleming book that became
Okay.
the movie. And I
Yes.
learned a lot about that. I could talk about that and what to watch or what to read.
Let's just jump into the pod now, ladies and
There
gentlemen.
we go.
So the Niners season is over. So you want to talk a little pro wrestling, MMA, English Premier League soccer now? What are we talking about now?
What are we talking about? You're usually in charge of this. I mean, I'm very excited. This is actually, so I love this time of year because it's sort of the calm before the rest of the sports season. It's actually an excellent time to go to Paris and Zermatt because you're not missing that much. But it is spring training. I managed last night in the midst of my jet lag to watch 3 innings of the Giants spring training opener.
Same.
Yeah. They looked exactly like the Giants from last year. They couldn't hit. First inning, they got a guy in third base, less than 2 outs, couldn't get him home, hit into a double play. It was,
Nothing's changed.
Just
Nothing's
like last
changed.
year, except their manager is not nearly as buff.
That is correct. Yes, folks. No, we're not going to talk about pro wrestling. In today's episode, recorded on Sunday, February 25th, Paul and I are going to talk a little Warriors rejuvenation, some Giants spring training. We'll touch on some 49er talk and finish with the best things we saw. Paul, dealer's choice. Where do you want to go first? You want to go Warriors, Giants, or Niners? You pick.
That's a great question. I love my baseball. Let's go with the Warriors. I think the Warriors are the most exciting, timely thing we can talk about as we go into the second half of the season.
Yes, the Warriors, they're playing great. I believe they've won 10 of their last 12. Today, Sunday, they play Denver in about 5 hours West Coast time, which will be a good litmus test for their improvement. They look great, Paul.
I have no idea what time it is, Matt. It's 8:00 in Paris, just so you know.
There you go. Yeah, you can watch the game at 2 a.m. Listen, I'll tell you why I think the Warriors have kind of turned the corner here. Clay has embraced the sixth man role. Wiggins has literally woken up. Kuminga has taken the leap. Draymond at center, Paul, looks like a rookie Magic Johnson after Kareem got hurt in the finals. And also, Draymond, I don't know if you've been watching him on the court, he no longer goes Jackie Moon from semi-pro on the refs.
Suck my cock! I'll murder your family!
You're gone, Jackie Moon!
And Jackie Moon is ejected from the game.
What did I say?
You said that's my seat.
He seems like it's all working. All the meds are working on Draymond. He's playing great. And Steph looks like a 25-year-old out there.
I love Draymond calling out the Hornets last night for their meltdown at the end of the game. And Lester Quinones decided to try to score when they were up by 13 on the last possession. And Draymond said, I don't know what they're doing, man. Why is everyone getting so bent out of shape?
Well, I've always had a thing for Grant Williams. I've always thought Grant Williams was a fake tough guy, and he's been on my list ever since he made that comment when he played for the Celtics, saying they were the better team, that we got lucky. So, listen, I'll say it on this pod. Grant Williams is a little bitch. I mean, he is. He's kind of big, buff. That's why he got run out of Dallas. But, yeah, they looked good. They won the game against the Hornets.
You know a lot about Grant Williams. I'm excited for the basketball part of our podcast, Matt. I feel like this is your zone.
This is my very clippable zone for me. And here's the best part, Paul. We didn't make a trade at the deadline, but we get Chris Paul back this week. So that's tasty. I like this team right now. How do you feel about us going forward? We're like 3 games out of the 6th spot. We're trying to get out of the play-in.
Dallas needs to start losing. I think they've won 7 in a row. I feel good about this team. They are what they've been trying to accomplish, which is this, how do you get the young guys going before the old guys leave? I mean, Kerr just did his 2-year contract, re-up $35 million, timed with Steph. So we basically have 2.5 years left of this. We better enjoy it. No, I think they're going to be great down the stretch. I just wonder how big a hole they have. They got to get out of the play-in. The play-in concerns me. But they are Kuminga, the whole thing. I think they're very fun. They're a great combination. By the way, they didn't just get Chris Paul back at the trade deadline. They kind of got Draymond back, right?
Sure.
Know?
I think the 6th seed is very much possible for them. Hey, I wanted to ask you real quick. I know this is like, a 10 days old, but the Lebron trade, the phone call, like, hey, you interested? Did you have a take on that? I mean, how would you feel if LeBron he's a free agent next year, was in a Warriors uniform?
I'd feel awful about it. So I remember when the Giants got Oral Hershiser. This was a long time ago. And they're like, oh, as long as they're on your team, you're cool with it. I was never cool with Oral Hershiser being on the Giants. Just sometimes it just doesn't work. LeBron James, I can't do it. Like, I don't know what, I'll become a Oklahoma City Thunder fan. That's too much. That's a bridge too far.
Yeah, no, I think, and thank you for setting me straight there, because in my brain I started rationalizing that. But you're right, I've hated LeBron for years, and it's, I know we root for the uniform, not the player. I mean, that's just what it is. But yeah, if we got LeBron, that would be like dating someone just completely bad for you or out of your league, and you know it going in, and you know it's going to end in heartbreak, but you go there anyway.
Yeah, I don't know about out of a league. I did enjoy the fact that he didn't play the other night when he kicked the shit out of the Lakers, and he was wearing an UN hat. And I was like, oh, is he in the UN now? Like, I didn't know what UN was, and I looked it up, and it's like Undisputed or something. Do you know about this?
Yeah, that's been his production company in the show that he's been doing.
That. He actually, apparently, I was on the airplane, and I watched part of a Willie Mays documentary that was on HBO that they produced. So.
Yeah, no, that's great.
He's doing some stuff, but no, I'm relieved, and I don't believe that was a real conversation. I believe that the Warriors did that just to kind of prove that nobody was safe, get everybody off their ass a little bit.
Ooh, so you thought that was just like, let's light a little fire underneath?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, listen, I think they're going to make the 6th spot. When you return from Stade, we do have to go to a game and get that on the books.
I'm excited about that. Now that I've had COVID, Matt, I feel like I can go anywhere. It's my 2nd time with COVID, so I'm a repeat COVID champion.
I don't want to say how many times I've got COVID because I don't want to jinx it. Okay, there's only 7 of us left.
Kidding? Nobody even tests for COVID anymore. I'm like, I texted somebody I had it. They're like, oh, people are still getting that. I'm like, I guess.
Exactly. Well, that's our Warriors talk. I know it was concise and to the point. I hope everyone here got a little insight from us. But I'm going to be at the Warriors game today, Paul. The national game today.
It's all so confusing, Matt, with the time change. Did you watch the Charlotte game last night? I heard that was an ugly mess. They held an NBA team to 84 points.
It felt like a Sweet 16 game in the NCAA tournament. I felt like I was watching St. Mary's against like Clemson or something. But it was 1990s sort of bully ball, New York Knicks, Pat Riley head coach type of basketball. Today's going to be a barn burner. I will report to you from Chase and let you know. That is our Warriors talk. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Folks, today's episode is brought to you by Pet Pro Supply Co. That's right. Pet Pro Supply Co. is still sponsoring the Beat LA podcast. If you're looking for pet supplies for your pet, or you have an unhealthy affection for pets, or you need to get someone that gift like a dog cage, or some cat toys, go to petprosupplyco.com and use code BEATLA for 10% off. All right, we're back. And Paul, you were just saying something during the break about dog shit after the Pet Pro thing.
I was just saying that in my 24 hours in Paris, I've noticed more dog shit on the street here than I thought there would be. So maybe the Parisians are not as worried about dog shit as we are. I'm going to look into it.
Homeless people? What's the homeless thing like in Paris? Just because
none, almost none.
None.
Yeah, and they're very they're very polite. And everyone just hands them a baguette when they walk out of the boulangerie.
I love it. Well, speaking of homeless, let's go to the San Francisco 49ers.
I have some thoughts. After having been to the Super Bowl and marinating in that, and marinating with COVID after they lost, I've thought a lot about the game, and I've thought a lot about the future, and I've thought a lot about Jimmy G getting cut and having a PED suspension.
Well, let's go there. Let's go there first. What's rattling in your head?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts, and I've read a lot. I was on my phone a lot. And do you know that the Chiefs have not been called for one holding call in 3 Super Bowls? Not one.
That is an insane tidbit of news that I didn't know. But Paul, we got to let it go. We got to let it go. We got to turn the page, man. What are you doing? What are you doing? What you're doing right now, Paul, is you're thinking back of all the good times with, it's like when someone breaks up with somebody and they're just like deep in like the past, and like you gotta move forward.
I've also trying to figure out who gave me COVID. I think it might have been the guy who was asleep next to me at the game.
This guy next to me, he's resting up for the second half.
Yeah, he was probably a little under the weather.
Yeah,
and then he woke up and drank his Michelob Ultra, and the next thing I knew, he's like hugging me and stuff. Like that I think it was made by that guy.
Maybe. Let's go find him. Let's track him down.
Well, we should look forward. I agree. We should look forward. You had a thought about their schedule for next year. I'm not on the same page on this, but I think they've got a very tough schedule for next year. You said 14-3, which we all know would happen when you said they were going to go 17-0.
Listen, as a good degenerate that I am, and a big fan of the film Big Fan, if you've never seen the film Big Fan with Patton Oswalt about two degenerate New York
I know
Giants
The Fan.
fans.
Remember The Fan with Wesley Snipes and Robert De Niro?
No,
It was
I
a
remember that one.
Giants movie.
Yeah, Benicio del Toro plays a power hitter in that. No, The Fan is a great independent, Big Fan with Patton Oswalt. In that film, one of them goes to jail, and he kind of puts, instead of, he puts the schedule up against the glass, and he looks at it. I looked at the schedule. I did my calculations. I went beautiful mind Russell Crowe, and I came out with 14-3, Paul.
Hey, great. They're playing who they play. They're playing the Cowboys are playing Kansas City, by the way, at home. They've got Minnesota on the road. They got Green Bay. They got the Bills next year. They've got the NFC East, the whole NFC East. I think it's a tough schedule.
It is a tough schedule.
Hey, look, don't forget, they got the 1 seed with 12-5 this year. So, as long as these other teams cannibalize each other, maybe we'll be okay.
But what I'm banking on is Brock Purdy making that Montana-like leap into his third year. Okay.
I don't know, Matt. There's a lot of things in his way. He's now a spokesman for multiple products. He's going to be making a lot more money. He's getting married on March 9th, as we know, because, Matt, I know you got him a gift. Didn't you go on his registry?
Actually, I gave this to you for your wedding. This model? No, this exact one.
I went on his registry too, Matt. We need to talk about some of the things.
This is a good segue, Paul. You're the king of the segue. Let's just get into a couple Brock Purdy tidbits and forget about the Super Bowl. Let's get into the fun stuff, why people come to beat LA. Brock Purdy, our quarterback, is getting married, as you said. His gift registry, folks, is still up for Crate and Barrel. I pulled a couple of gifts, and I wonder which ones the Beat LA podcast is going to send him. Just because we're sponsored by Pet Pro, we could take the Pet Pro money and buy the gift for him. Which one do you want to go with? I'm going to give you four options here, Paul.
I assume you're going to be showing it, a lovely photo of him and his wife, the day. So Crate and Barrel, and everything, all their dishes, everything are just white. They're totally vanilla. And I know that some people think that Brock's a little bit of a vanilla personality, but there is no bling or flair to anything he's getting. But there is one thing that I'm very intrigued by.
Yes.
It's called the P, like the letter P as in Paul, because I make things about myself, the P monogram serving board. So that's what I'm getting in, Matt. And I'm going to sign it from Beat LA and Paul Rule, and I'm going to sign it right under where the P, because there's already a P on it. I don't know if you can see it. So
Okay.
right there,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting, Brock.
Well, I mean, Paul, this is what I pulled. I was like, well, the most expensive thing on the registry is still there, which is the Breville Barista Pro stainless steel espresso machine for $850.
That's nice. Yeah, mine was $50.
There's also the Breville Smart Oven air fryer for $400. This is what I'm going to get. You're going to get him the monogram cutting board, right? I'm going to get him, and this is, I think, on brand for Matt Ferrucci. I don't know what it says. I'm just making the shit up as I go. I'm going to get him the Dash Cream mini waffle maker for $14.95. No one's bought this yet. That's the thing he's going to use the most.
$14.95.
Yeah.
You can get a waffle maker for $15.
That's what I'm saying. This is exciting.
Jesus, man, I'm going to Crate and Barrel.
Hold on. I made a mistake. It's mini waffle maker plates. They're mini waffle maker plates. Still, I'm going to get him those. Okay.
Beautiful.
Speaking of Brock Purdy, also, people think we're a couple of yahoos with the podcast. We're psychic, Paul, because 3 months ago, we started talking about Brock Purdy endorsements. We played his agent, and we threw some stuff out. If he keeps this up, he's in line for some big deals. I said on the pod that he should get a deal from John Deere.
Ding, ding, ding.
And what happened, Paul? This week, he gets a deal with John Deere. He was shooting a commercial with him on a tractor. I mean, Paul, give me my flowers here. I mean, this is pretty on spot for me, right?
Yeah, you remember on their bye week, he was out at his fiance's farm in Iowa on a tractor, digging up some corn, and we had that idea, and you were absolutely correct. I think we should get you on a tractor, Matt, and then maybe we also can get like Tractor Supply Company. It could come in and sponsor the podcast.
Listen, put me in a tractor. Can I say it? Milagro Beanfield War? I just wanted to say that. Remember that one?
Robert Redford directed Milagro Green.
Oh, did he?
Beanfield War. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Paul, I think that's it for the Niners. I mean, we'll have our draft analysis. We're going to have our upcoming draft pod with hopefully a special guest.
Should we talk at all about Steve Wilkes getting fired? I do have one comment on that.
Sure.
Actually, I do have a pet peeve. My pet peeve is Kyle Shanahan's unwillingness to take any blame for anything he ever does ever. The offense was actually the bigger problem in that game, and they fired the U.S. coordinator. I understand the way Wilkes needed to go. I understand he fucked up some calls at the end of that game. Shanahan, at various times during the season, had to basically jump in and change calls on the defense. Bill Walsh had an offensive coordinator. Andy Reid had an offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy. He needs an offensive coordinator, and he refuses to take blame for the fact they kept getting field goals and they didn't score. Anyway, so I like Kyle. We're in a good time, a good age in the Niner arc. But I'm a little frustrated that Kyle never, ever takes the blame for things himself.
No, I agree with that. But let's talk about this. They haven't announced a new defensive coordinator yet. They're really close. I know there's a lot of sexy names out there. The two biggest sexy names would be Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick. I would actually prefer probably Pete Carroll just because he runs a 4-3. That's what the Niners running 4-3. Bill Belichick runs a 3-4. But I think we just go in-house. We got like three really good in-house candidates that kind of know the scheme from like the last 4 or 5 years. And let's just stay in-house and hire the guy and stay in his house. I mean, that's what I'm going with.
I agree with that. Oh, and the last thing I want to say about football, somebody sent me this week, they did about the biggest drinking stadiums. So do you know what number one is, Matt? So quick quiz. Everyone can play along.
The number one drinking stadium, I don't know. Let's go to Cleveland.
Nashville, man.
Oh, Nashville. No, that makes sense.
The Niners are middle of the pack. So they're not the bottom. They're not the top. They're right smack in the middle. So Nashville's number one, and we're middle of the pack.
I love being middle of the pack. That's the only good thing about Levi's is it doesn't get too fucking crazy there. Everything else about that erector set of a stadium sucks. So, Paul, I'm going to take a quick break.
Yes.
And we're going to be right back with a little Giants talk. All right, we're back. We're going to talk a little Giants baseball because it's that time of the year, Paul. It's your favorite time of the year. I'm starting to feel the juices. A little bit. San Francisco Giants, I got a few things I want to talk about, but Paul, what's getting you hard right now about the Giants?
Whoa.
Or not?
What's getting me flaccid about the Giants?
Yeah, hey, up or down?
There are a couple of things. Okay, there's a lot of things I want to talk about actually about baseball, but I'll make them quick. So the first thing that I'm worried about are the new uniforms.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
They're see-through. And by the way, all I can think about is poor Gabe Kapler. Who would love these new Fanatic see-through uniforms that show your schlong or whatever shorts that you're wearing and the bulges and all that stuff more than Kapler? Kapler, I mean, it's terrible. I feel awful for him. Somebody should hire him, get him on the field ASAP just to wear the uni.
For the folks who don't know, Major League Baseball has a new uniform maker this year. They switched from Fanatics to Nike, and Nike has made these see-through, breathable, awful-looking uniforms that a lot of the players are complaining about. I love your Kapler point. You know, he's now the assistant GM in Miami. You know, there's going to be a lot of cuts to like the box or behind home plate in the tunnel, and he's watching the game in like a fucking tank top right from the club or like a fishnet thing. Oh, it's going to be, you know.
Apparently his TikTok has exploded since he stopped being a manager.
He's smart. Yeah. That's a brand for him that works for him. Paul, I don't know if you saw this. I saw this for the first time today. Did you know that the Giants, the color of their home uniforms actually changed?
No, I didn't know that. It's no longer the sort of the cream.
No, the color has slightly changed. It's no longer a cream. It's now the color coconut milk.
Did they sell the sponsorship?
No, I read this morning. They've gone from the cream to the new color coconut milk, which is actually a little bit more yellow. Here's my question to you. Do we go from cream to coconut milk because it's some sort of progressive San Francisco thing?
Nobody has real cream anymore. They put coconut milk or almond milk or oat milk in their coffee. So maybe they think nobody uses cream anymore. So maybe that's it.
I have recently discovered that the healthiest of those three milks is coconut.
Interesting.
Just put it out there. It's at the BLA Nutrition Corner. Coconut milk is actually more healthy than almond or oat.
That explains how in Gilligan's Island they survived on that island for all those years.
Shout out to someone who knows who told me that. You know who you are. Shout out to you. Paul, what else, Giants?
Pablo, we can talk about Pablo coming back maybe for a second.
He looks like he's sworn off the burritos and went vegan, Paul.
Ozempic, baby.
Is that going to take away his superpowers, though? Is he better fat, or is he better? He's better at this size. I mean, he was crushing the ball in that Dubai League and the Mexican League.
It's also so cynical that they signed him. I mean, come on. It's like they know that there's nobody on that team that anybody wants to root for. It'll get me through spring training. I'm excited to have Pablo back.
Hey, as a producer, we know you got to get the name that sells foreign, right?
I also have a question, and we've proven that we should have Brock Purdy's agent. How did Pablo Sandoval never have a sponsorship deal with Panda Express?
You've said this many times. I don't know. Let's reach out to Panda Express.
And what's their thing that people love? The orange chicken. And what color are the Giants?
You're preaching right now.
I don't get it, man. I've had multiple glasses of wine in France, so that may explain what's going on here.
By the way, if you're watching the pod, Paul's drinking as we do this, and he's also on a couple drinks before the pod too.
A little white burgundy.
I would have loved to have been in that like a fly on the wall in that room for the marketing meeting on why they didn't go with Pablo. There's a bunch of shit that could have gotten people canceled, I bet, in that room when they're like, you know what? And then they said some things and they didn't go with Pablo.
You mean Panda Express? Why they wouldn't
go with Pablo? Yeah.
Maybe because he had a little bit of a weight problem. Maybe they were like, hey, it'll make people think that orange chicken maybe isn't that healthy for you.
Dinner, please. Dinner with peas in a sesame soy glaze.
This is not working at all.
This is why this pod works, me and you, because I'll throw out these zingers and you don't take the bait. You don't take it. And that's actually good. I love it. I love it so much.
Everything you say seriously, Matt.
Let me ask you this question, Paul. So we got crushed yesterday. The bright spot. I do like Yoshimoto Sudsuko, the Korean fatty, kind of the mini Pablo. I like him. He's going to get a lot of play with us.
He had a couple hits yesterday. My Giant friend, so I don't talk enough about my friend Mike Baus, who's a big podcast fan, big LA guy. Mike treated yesterday's game as if it was a real game. He's basically like, oh, we suck again. He already is doomsaying the whole season. And that's what I love about him. I surround myself with brothers in neg.
I love it. Brothers in neg. That's one of your fan clubs. Hey, I wanted to ask you about this. Matt Chapman's still out there. He's still on the board.
Bellinger signed today, 3 years, $80 million.
80, he did.
Giants couldn't have given him that for 3 years and opt-outs. It's a perfect Farhan contract. It's maddening.
Totally. Well, he just didn't want to come here. They probably offered him 3 years at 100.
He didn't want to come here because he knows he can't hit in that state. Oracle's always been a problem when trying to get hitters. You got to overpay for a guy like Soler. Soler has had 2 seasons where he's actually hit well. And the 8 where he didn't.
You talked about this a couple pods ago. Matt Chapman's still out there. It feels like Evan Longoria 2.0. But maybe that's what we need. And to our previous point we just made, who gives a shit about the money? They're saying it's going to take 5 years, $110 million.
It's not going to take that. Boris has overplayed his hands with these guys. All you have to do is look at the Bellinger contract. I think the one thing, and Mike and Tony and I were texting today, Tony Campaglia, Pet Phoebes, Tony Campaglia, and we agreed that this Bellinger contract, that the good part of that is it means that they probably don't have much leverage for Chapman either. Same agent, waited too long into the first week of spring training. I think it's a good sign. I think the Giants will still get Chapman, and I think it won't be that much of an onerous deal.
Well, I don't know if you heard this because you're over there at Roland Garros, but apparently we're finalists for Kike Hernandez, which feels like the perfect Farhan 5-position guy. If it's Kike or Matt Chapman.
Is it Kike or Kiki?
Kike, okay.
Kike. He had a double hernia last year, I saw. Apparently that's not good if you want to be a hitter.
So I think I'd rather have Chapman just because he's a Melvin guy over Kike Hernandez. But I feel like in the room they're debating right now, looking at the board, Kike or Chapman, and that scares the hell out of me.
Jung-Ho Lee's already hurt. Keaton Wynn's already hurt. Yastrzemski's already hurt. Kike Hernandez plays a lot of different positions. Chapman plays one position.
True. I'm feeling good about this team right now, though, because I always drink the Kool-Aid. I drink the Kool-Aid.
Okay.
If we can stay healthy. Are you going to be back?
My new favorite player is Hayden Birdsong. He's the only guy that threw a clean inning yesterday. And I like his name.
I know. I saw that. Otto Lopez made an Olay error. He made an error right out of Major League. Cue the clip.
Come on, Dorn, get in front of the damn ball. Don't give me this Olay bullshit.
But he did hit a 2-run homer. So, hey.
I saw Grant Brisbee said he can't wait to write Otto Goes Oppo.
Are you going to opening day this year?
I'm not going to opening day. I am going to spring training, Matt. I'll be reporting from spring training. I'm going to be embedded with the Oakland A's, it looks like, the weekend of the 15th of March. So we're reporting from there. I know we've got a big baseball preview. I think we're going to be recording on the 26th with a Dodger person.
A special guest. We'll play that later. We're bringing the enemy into enemy territory like never before.
But no, I don't know if I'm going to go to opening day this year. I think I went last year. I've been to multiple opening days.
Yeah, I think I saw you last year. You were up in the third deck, very unkindle of you. And I actually had good seats, and we kind of met halfway. Paul, anything else on the Giants, or are we ready to pop to something else?
Look, don't get me wrong. One thing I will say, I'm very excited for the baseball season. Just having it on last night, sitting in my little French pied-a-terre on the app, watching the Giants. As soon as football season over, all the pain that happened, whatever, it's just nice seeing the guys running around. Weather looks great in Arizona. So I'm ready for baseball. I'm excited.
And on that note, we'll be right back. All right, we're back, and we are at the final segment, some people's favorite segment of the show. It's called The Best Things We Saw. We
the
can literally
ever podcast, Matt. This has to be. Is this number one? If I talk with
No. Our pilot episode will always take the cake. All right, we'll always take the cake. We didn't know what the heck this was. Best things we saw. We can literally invite your wife back into the room, as we've done many times before, figuratively speaking. Best things. I can't even remember. It's been a couple weeks. Who wants to go first? You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I'll go first. We can maybe go back and forth quickly.
I got two. I could do two, like you. You want to go 1 to 1 1? Let's.
I have a little bit of a list. It's going to be a quick list, though.
Okay.
And then there's one that's slightly longer. So one, I just want everyone to acknowledge that this week we have Leap Day coming up this week. So you get an extra day this year. So the 29th, do something fun on Leap Day. I don't know what it is, but and apparently if you're not very romantic, you're supposed to get married on Leap Day, because then you only have to celebrate your anniversary once every 4 years.
Whoa.
So that's one thing I'd say. The other thing I'd say, go and amuse yourself by watching any kind of meme or clip you can get about the Dune Popcorn bucket, because I've been amusing myself with the Dune Popcorn bucket. And you know how much I like Timothy Chalamet Ding Dong.
Mr. Chalamet in the classroom right now? Where is Timothy Chalamet?
That's his next movie, Dune, and the popcorn bucket. If you've ever seen Diner, cue the clip.
Oh, Carol, seriously, it was an accident, I swear to God.
An accident? Your thing just got into a box of popcorn.
If you put the Dune popcorn bucket in the movie Diner, that would be a great meme. So I'm suggesting that for people out there that like to make their own, clips for TikTok and things. So those are two things that you can watch or think about this week, Matt.
I just want to ask you, did you see the first Dune with Timothy Chalamet?
I fell asleep and didn't watch the second half. I thought it was very boring. Oh, by the way, I saw an interview with Josh Brolin, who's in it. And apparently he and Brolin were big buddies in the first one. And he's like, oh, he referred to you as a mentor. How is he now? And he took a long pause and he's like, let's just say the movie kind of is like his arc, where the first one he was like, green and like wanted to like buddy up. And this one, and I'm like, okay, he's turned into a dick.
He's a superstar. I like Timothy Chalamet, and I actually saw the first one in the theater. It was the first movie I saw during COVID when they opened up the movie theaters back in. I'm going to start soft, and then I'm going to come hard, I think. Whoa, Jesus.
You also just asked me if the Giants season got me hard, man. What's going on over there?
Okay, I'm going to show my colors, okay? Some people think because
I know you're pushing for a Cialis sponsorship on the pod.
Yeah, no, I am very much so. I know this pod, a sports pop culture thing, very bro-y, barstool, well, I'm going to shake that moniker right now because
corner, baby.
I love romantic comedies. I'm a very sensitive man, all right? And something I've been watching this week, I'll admit it. I will admit it. I've been watching this love story show series on Netflix called One Day. It is in the vein, if you liked Normal People on Hulu, this is a Normal People light. It's not great, but it's about these two kids that meet after they graduate from college, and it spans over 5 years of them falling in love. I quite enjoy it. I don't know what else to say, but if you can come to grips with that soft spot, fellas, inside of your heart, One Day ain't bad. It takes place in England. It's a good show. and the episodes are only 25 minutes. Paul, redeem me. Give me my man card back.
I love stuff like that. I wrote a pilot. My first ever pilot that I sold was called A Year in the Life, and it tracked the year of a relationship as they went from engagement day to wedding day. So I like stuff like that.
I want to direct that. That sounds great. That's a great pitch. I want to do it. I want to do it right now.
So I got two other quick things. One, everybody, if you want to laugh, go find this. There was on Instagram, you can find out that Liam Gallagher, who's in Oasis, apparently for years would call John Bon Jovi at 5 a.m. to tell him his music sucked. That made me laugh more than anything. And he knew he was at a different time zone. I don't know how he got his fucking number. Anyway, that was great. That made me laugh. And then the one show I saw this week, we may have talked about on the pod, I can't remember, Matt, because I'm in Paris and drinking and jet lagging, is I finally saw Daisy Jones and the Six. And I kind of loved it. There were parts of it that drove me crazy, but it stuck with me. I gave a shit about it. Talk about if you want to lose your sort of man card. It's very much a romantic comedy about dysfunctional people in the backdrop of kind of awesome music and the 70s music scene and Laurel Canyon and all this stuff. Anyway, if you haven't seen it yet, totally recommend it. There's a device in it that may drive you crazy, but stick with it because the device actually gets paid off in the last episode, and it left me and my wife crying like little babies. So check it out.
I loved Daisy Jones and the Six. I think I recommended this to you when it aired, and you bumped. You're like, I did. But I loved that show. It does take a weird turn when they go to Greece and it turns into Mamma Mia. Other than that, it's I loved the show. I thought it was great. If you like Almost Famous, check it out. But yeah, a friend of mine
was actually Almost Famous. Sam Claflin and Billy Crudup could have, if they had a time machine, they could have traded roles. But yeah.
No, that was a great show. And a good friend of mine was actually a writer and executive producer on that show. And I wish she would give me a job. Also, I'd like to say, just on your Liam Gallagher point, my favorite thing about Liam Gallagher at his height was his wife, Patsy Kensit. Remember Patsy Kensit?
I remember well. Lethal Weapon 2, man.
Man, when she popped up on the screen, I literally fainted. They had to revive me. What a beautiful woman Patsy Kensit was.
Married to Jim Kerr from the Simple Minds at some point in her life. That's my 80s music thing. Jim Kerr also was married to Chrissy Hine from the Pretenders. I have a lot of brain clutter before the year 2000.
Last recommend. So I'm going to, I came with One Day, a very sort of sweet romantic comedy. The best thing I saw this weekend was last night. Shane Gillis, comedian, hosted Saturday Night Live. And if you were familiar with the Shane Gillis saga, he was canceled. He was one of the first guys to get canceled. He got cast in Saturday Night Live. And then before his first episode, he got canceled because of a joke. He made a joke on stage and it went viral. I thought he was unjustly canceled because comedians make jokes about a lot of things. Talk about a mic drop. He was invited back to host the show because in the 3 years since he was canceled, which he wasn't, he never apologized for what he is and what he does. I don't think he's an offensive person at all. He keeps it real. And because of that popularity, because he kept it real and didn't pander, he made it back to the show. He was invited back to the show, and it was freaking hilarious. So shout out to Shane Gillis. If you want to see an episode of SNL, who watches that anymore, that reminds you of those 90s shows, watch the Shane Gillis episode from last night. That's the best things. We come in a record time here, Paul. Do you have any shout outs before we go?
Well, I've shouted out my friends who've put me up in their lovely Paris apartment, Mitch and Evelise. I've shouted out my friends who are getting remarried in Zermatt, Aurelian and Simone. Shout out to my wife, who also managed to make it over here after I brought her COVID back from the Super Bowl. That's real love, Matt, is you go to the Super Bowl without your spouse, and then you bring them not only your shitty attitude after your team loses, you bring them COVID. And I think she still loves me. So thank you, Kristen.
I love that shout out. I have one shout out. I'm going to shout out a new subscriber to the pod. His name is Alejo Loeb. Alejo Loeb. Alejo. You listen to the pod intensely. You take our recommendations, and then you tell me about these recommendations and why you disagree with them. I wanted to shout you out. You're my favorite new fan of this podcast. So Alejo, shout out to you. Paul, before we go, is there any way Mitch will be okay? Can you bring that painting behind you back with you for me? You think that's possible?
Absolutely, Matt. I'm sure he'd be happy about that. I don't know if I can get it in my luggage, but we'll figure it out.
Take a little trinket, like one of those clocks, and just bring it back. Okay? He won't fucking mind.
He won't know. He won't even know, man.
Folks, That is this week's pod. We're going to be back probably in a couple weeks with a more intense baseball preview as things start cooking up. Also, the playoffs are coming. The NBA race is going to get a little bit tighter, and we'll have a lot of great things to talk about. Paul, in Paris, have fun in Switzerland. Don't go Sonny Bono. I'm going to reverse jinx it right out of the gate, okay?
Whoa. Okay. Does that reverse jinx or does that make it happen based on the neg? I ski kind of like on the blue stuff. I'm just trying to get to the opera.
Gotcha. All right, folks. Paul, until the next time we record.
Au revoir and beat LA.